area of YouTube you need to be. Appreciate that as well. Hello to everybody in the chat. I would imagine most everybody's bracket is in good shape. It's been all chalk, baby. My God, what a boring ass sorry tournament this has been. We'll see. That means perhaps we luck out and we get a little bit of something interesting to have happen. I mean, if you like terrible basketball and very little suspense and intrigue, then this tournament's for you. Bricklayers Convention most nights that you've had a chance to watch. I did note that Arkansas and St. John's combined to go 4 for 41 from 3. By all means, guys, hoist another. It has ruled the day as almost every underdog you've seen play looked overly matched or overmatched, I should say, at times downright pathetic. The average margin of victory in the round of 64, by the way, this year was nearly 17 points per game. That's the highest ever. 10 of the wins were by 25-plus point blowouts. That's reminds me of the women's tournament for years and years and years, where none of the games were good. You could certainly argue that the most boring NCAA men's tournament over the first weekend that I can remember. Lots of blowouts, lots of unfortunate. It's the first time in the NCAA tournament Sweet 16 history that it's only made up of power conference teams. Those would be the SEC, the Big Ten, the Big 12. We got one in the ACC. Tom, wave the flag. Let's go, Duke.
I don't know. We're still doing that we thing.
We're not.
We?
Some worry that this is get used to it time. Welcome in the era of the super conferences, a tip of the iceberg. It's funny if you wanted to be cynical and say that that's where this is going and that the era of the Cinderella, the underdog darling, and all the things that don't exist in this tournament this year, that maybe this is a sign that is a bygone era. You would look at a team like FAU that had a run to the Final Four, and much to the shock of everybody, right? Yeah, guess where all those players are? On teams currently playing in the Big Four. That's what you would do. That's what you would point to.
It's almost like people might wake up to the idea of income disparity and the benefits and drawbacks if you have it or you don't.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
But by all means, screw us. Screw us for being greedy.
But I didn't, by the way, I did not want to go a full 4 days without a memorable moment. Thank goodness we got one with Maryland. We did get it. Derek Queen's bank there to win it at the buzzer. Great game. Stayed up, watched it, was locked in. A lot of fun. About the only good game of the tournament so far. Florida UConn was pretty good. Good for the FSU women. They won.
In, yes, convincing fashion.
Good. I didn't know we hadn't won. The women hadn't won a NCAA tournament game since 2019. Did you?
Well, they have now.
Yeah, but did you know that?
No, I did not.
Gladson with 28. Good for her. Hey, tonight. Now, this is the game I'll watch.
Don't. Why? What are you doing? They're going to lose.
Well, they always do.
No. When you watch, they
No, they always do. I just gave you the stat. They don't win. I didn't watch any of those other losses all these years that they go to the tournament. Maybe me watching will mean they win, Tom. You got it all wrong.
Did you watch Saturday?
No.
Well, there we go.
But I didn't watch any of the other. No, they should have won that game. They did. No, I'll watch tonight because it's LSU, right? It's come on. Have that performance. Have that day in the sun. This is the one to do it against an insufferable person as a head coach. Do that. That would be, you want to talk about forever flying the flag, Tom. My goodness gracious. Let these ladies get this win tonight. Come on.
You could live off of that one for years and years and years.
Yes. Yes, you could.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for it big time, man. I would love, obviously, to see it beyond my loyalties to FSU. I the woman on the other sideline is not likable.
You're saying that if there was an open seat for Thanksgiving and somebody needed to be at your table, Kim Mulkey wouldn't be welcome? She wouldn't be welcome.
She wouldn't make it. She wouldn't make it. The boys go down south and take out Miami 2 of 3. But I ask you this question on the surface as we catch up on the weekend that was. It was a long weekend for you and I. We were able to get out of town, spend a day with family, so we were not here Friday. We have a lot of catching up to do. A lot of things happened in that time.
People like Coach Cameron translates. Coach Cameron translates while we were gone.
Oh, cool. Well, we can do some more. I've got plenty. I have a feeling it's going to be an active part of the show from here on out, given the circumstances. But and I'll do it. But I will tell you this, that I can't decide. First of all, it's always good to beat Miami. And if you're talking about the last 2 years, we've done a lot of it. 5 of those 6 games we faced Miami, we have won. Swept them last year to take 2 of 3 this year. But I would ask you, in all honesty, did you walk away from the weekend that was, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday tilt with Miami, feeling better about Florida State baseball or worse?
Yes. Both. Both.
Yeah. No, because you can do the thing, right? You can juggle it. On the one hand, let's juggle the bad, and then I'll juggle something good. We'll go back and forth. You ready? Okay, I'll give you the bad. It's obvious. I mean, this is an easy, low-hanging fruit. It was not cool seeing our ace, Jamie Arnold, get lit up, was wild, walked more than he struck out, gives up, 6 earned runs. I don't know if it was the birthday thing, if it was the eagerness to get a win against Miami down there. I don't know what it was, but he was out of sorts and he didn't look good. And we lose a game fresh off a run rule in that ass the night before. You thought, oh, well, this is done. We're all set now. It's a matter of whether or not we can sweep. And then that happens, and it was bitterly disappointing, and he got beat up. And I'm not going to overreact and tell you that I think it portends of problems. Could just be a bad start. Pitchers have bad starts, even really good ones. Sometimes if you don't have a secondary pitch that you can throw for a strike, you've got real problems. And that's what happened on Friday. He didn't really control his stuff all that well, and then they were able to kind of feast and sit on one pitch.
Well, I think in team sports and in individual sports, you see this happen all the time where somebody's on the brink of an achievement, and they either go into a slump or go into a shell, and then they break through. They need that one moment to finally push through, even though all of the evidence that they need is before them because they're at this moment.
Right.
It could be in a conference final to go to the final. It could be in a championship game. It could be walking down the 17th fairway, and you've got to hit 3 more full shots, and you're going to win a major. You see this happen all the time.
It makes me nervous thinking about it.
Well, I think that's where Jamie Arnold is. You got 2 things going on. He's completely out of his routine the last month. He's supposed to be fixed on Friday. Then he was scratched, and it's all right. Is he going to be available this day, that day? Then he goes Saturday. Then you pivot back to the short series to get him back to Friday. So you're out of your routine. That's number 1. Number 2, everybody knows that you should be a top 5 pick, if not the number 1 pick in the draft. First pitcher for sure, right? Well, when you are on the brink of achieving all of your dreams, Luke Clanton in golf just went through this. He had a putt to earn his tour card out in Arizona at the WM, and he came up just short. When you are that close, it's a hell of a thing that you got to push through, and it happens in team sports all the time too. Sometimes a team's up 3-1 in a best-of-7 series, and you know they're the better team, and they lay an egg in Game 5, so now it's 3-2. Game 6, the game's closer than it should be. Oh, you guys aren't going to blow this, are you? And then there's that moment where they push through. So I think Arnold psychologically could be in that place, and then also from a routine standpoint, he's off kilter right now. He needs to just get back and start throwing bullets again.
Yeah, I'm not mad. Not going to flip out. It does put your antennas up. It does make you go, all right, let's make sure this isn't a trend. Let's just make sure this is a bad start.
And you're healthy and everything. Yeah.
Miami team stinks. That team stinks. It's a glorious thing to be able to point out to the world. They suck. So that was a little bit frustrating, but there you go. You lose that game. Okay, that's my negative. Give me the positive, because you got a lot of places you can go.
Yeah, I'll just go basic to the bats. The lineup, the potency of the lineup. We're further defining. Miami's not a good team. Yes, understood. But you're further defining the floor of who you should beat up on. That game on Friday night was not out of reach whatsoever. In fact, I think a call at second base on it's an automatic double play when they got the force at second in the 8th inning. That's a big call because that's another run that could have scratched across in the 8th. And if you looked at the situation of where the at-bats went after that, that Florida State was down 6 runs, whatever it was, with 5 or 6 outs to go, and you felt squarely like the lineup could get you back in it. I did not hesitate to keep the game on at when Miami scores 9. I'm thinking, let's see if we can make some noise here. And you nearly make that comeback happen in game 2 of that series. That's the kind of stuff that last year's offensive lineup did for you. You were never out of a game. Your staff, your bullpen could have laid an egg, and you felt like, well, we don't need to worry about flipping the order because this order just always is lethal. We're starting to get there a little bit. You see it in conference play in a 3-game series. Again, Miami's not very good, but I like adding another layer of when they play lower tier ACC teams, I'm going to expect 8 runs, 7 or 8 runs. Can we keep on elevating that this week when we play Florida again? You get a second crack at them after looking totally overwhelmed in the first game. Do you get better? Is your approach better? And then the roadie at Notre Dame. So for me, I'm feeling more hopeful about the lineup and how much we can produce and expect to produce.
I like it. I'll give you another positive as we play this little game here in the opening segment, just because it's fun as we watch a team develop and figure out and try to become fully realized. I have loved Vellini all year long. I've been excited about Vellini all year long. I've liked him since the first day we saw him. I loved what Mike Capozzi had to say about him before the season began when we asked about the rotation, and something about the way he talked about that young man that got me excited, and here we are. That was a shove of all shoves on a Thursday in a hostile environment at night. Miami desperate coming off of a series sweep to Wake, needs to get a win and had no chance from Jump Street, looked overwhelmed. And I'm going to give you the added bonus, Tom, of not just a run ruling for that ass, which is fun, not just a domination of a rival, which is more fun, but the intensity, the focus, and the what for from Vellini after every inning tells me an awful lot about who he is.
Yeah, which is why they couldn't stop talking about him before we broke camp, or they broke preseason camp, and they got into the first weekends. I mean, Link all but said 2 weeks before when he had his preseason press conference that he's your second starter. And yet he wasn't going to announce the weekend rotation, but they kept on coming back to Joey Vellini. In a way, we've already talked about that game because when we were recording, we were in the 4th inning.
It was happening, yeah.
Well, I remember we were talking about once we asserted ourselves to the lead, as it was, a drastic lead, big-time lead, Vellini understood the assignment. That's the other thing. He's smart. I like smart players. He knew, oh, crap, we're going to keep on scoring runs. We might run rule them, but even if we don't, I'm going to try and shoot for a complete game tonight. Let me throw this stuff over the plate. Let's get the ball in play. Let's keep my pitch count down. I think the gears switched somewhere in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th inning, depending upon when we, I guess, broke a barrier of our lead, a margin of lead, where you could tell he went into this other mode. He's like, let me save the arms. This is going to better position us to win the next 2 games if I try to go real deep. And that's exactly what he did. So I like when guys, they have guile and toughness and talent, but then they also just kind of understand, oh, I don't have to do anything fancy here. Let me just get some outs.
So it's your turn to give me a negative because we just did back-to-back positives.
Ooh.
Oh, you got some things to choose from.
I mean, look, I don't know who our top 3 bullpen arms are. I could give you 1 or 2.
Yep.
And then after that, you're going, is this going to be John Abraham's weekend? Is it not? Barrett, I know that they loved him in preseason, but I like Prescott.
Well, you have to. He basically won the game the other night.
I like Martinez for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, especially with Crest not being available. Or we'll see what the deal is with Crest, but obviously doesn't look good. It's just in a weekend series, I'm thinking, all right, you started with Arnold. He gives you 6 good innings. I'm going to think he bounces back. All right, who's our first guy out of the pen, and how many pitches?
Oh, you're saying any given weekend? Yeah.
I'm always thinking in terms of a super regional.
Super regional in a series. Yeah.
How do you win 2 out of 3 when you got to win 2 out of 3, and you're deploying those chess pieces? Like I thought we were going to have like a half dozen options that we like. We're at 2 or 3 right now. So there's a negative. I thought there'd be more arms that you could absolutely trust.
Well, incorporating the other positive to that negative means you have to highlight the negative because, and I'll do a dual thing here, Peyton Prescott, who you just mentioned, was simply spectacular in coming in for Wes Mendez, who wasn't good.
Right.
And Wes has been great all year long. So 2 of your 3 rotation pieces this weekend were not good. Your Thursday night guy, who we just mentioned, was spectacular. So when things got a little dicey there, and they did, to have a guy come in and give you 4 innings, get 12 outs is really important.
Well, see, the thing is with Wes, I don't even view that. I mean, I know it's a negative performance, but he's your 3. So my set of expectations for Wes are a little bit different. He's been exceeding.
He's been exceptional,
and he's still way ahead of the line. Like, dude, you're doing everything.
No, he's fine.
Need. Yeah, but some of those high leverage outs, man. Link has to be wondering himself. And tomorrow's going to be a very important performance and an opportunity for a lot of those guys to stake a claim. I feel like these midweeks, he might be auditioning for the weekend every week.
Well, it'll be an interesting game tomorrow over in Jacksonville. They're taking on Florida, of course, who came in here and beat us up a little bit in that first game. Of course, last year, Florida State dominated Florida in these games. Florida exacts revenge in that first matchup. It's interesting to kind of look at that and say, I wonder how that game's going to go. And the reason I say it is that you emerge from Miami having won the series 2 out of 3 in conference on the road, hostile environment. It's always a good thing. You don't want to dismiss that entirely. I'm not. You do have a couple of things to raise your eyebrow about and say, okay, I'm going to be monitoring that. But Florida's coming off a series against Georgia where they've got to be in shock. I mean, there were no indicators that Florida was going to give up 8, 17, and 15 runs in consecutive games in succession, 3 games. That's insane. I mean, there was no indication that they were going to do that. They got swept, lit up, really not competitive, save for game 1. So you're going to get an angry Florida team, I would think, or a reeling Florida team. Let's hope it's the latter.
I think you might get a group that has young arms that are slotted for midweek who see opportunity. So you're going to get motivated in a couple of ways. Embarrassed, yes. But then also, if I'm a midweek guy and they just were here not that long ago and I'm able to throw 96, 97, and I'm seeing that, they're slipping on Friday, Saturday. All right, our first batch of guys aren't doing it. This is my chance. This is my chance to get into that weekend bullpen rotation, if you will. I get the call sooner. So, yes, you're going to get their full attention tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's a fun baseball season because the team's really good. And always know, if you're relatively new to the show or you miss segments of the show, that my comparison, when you hear me be critical of a team that's in the top 5 in the country and just came off a series win against Miami, and what are we, 20-3 or whatever the hell we are?
Yeah.
All right, so it's all relative, first of all, but it's against the backdrop of, is this team good enough to make it to Omaha, where you give yourself a chance to finally break through and win a national championship? Last year's team was good enough. Last year's team went back to Omaha. We celebrated that success, and we also celebrated the wins in Omaha, in which Florida State was that close to winning a national championship, one of the last 4 teams standing. So all of a sudden, Florida State baseball was not just back, but back in a huge way. And I'm a big believer in what Link Jarrett's doing. I love this staff. I like the program and its upward mobility, where it's headed, where I think we're going to be on an annual basis. So that's where you get into the nitpicky. Okay, they're good. I know it. This is the standard. It's way up here. How do we compare to that? It's an interesting discussion because it's different than, is the team good? Well, yeah, they're really good. It's different than, are they going to make the postseason? Can they compete to win the ACC? Are they? No, yes, of course they are. Those are just the minimum standards when you have the cachet that Florida State baseball does as a program. And I've been here seemingly to cover every year they've ever existed. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm holding them to.
What's fascinating is I just checked on the RPIs and in Boyd's World.
We're way down compared to
21.
Yeah, we're way down.
Florida's at 34 at present. Now Georgia is top 5, which last weekend would help the cause.
Well, yeah, pasting that ass.
Oddly enough, just opportunity for this week, Florida being where they are, which is relatively good. Notre Dame is 17th. It's just they've had a monster of a schedule so far.
Yeah.
They're 12-9. They lost 9 baseball games, but they played anybody who's anybody in the ACC so far.
Well, this is where the kind of pseudo RPI really gets, records do matter. Competition does matter. if you are 500 or less, you might still have a really high RPI if you've played a bunch of great teams in big series, especially if those series were on the road.
Yeah, Wake, Clemson, Notre Dame already on their schedule.
Yeah, you would look at that and be like, okay, well, look, man, I mean, this gets back to the discussion we were having before, and I get into this argument all the time, and it's a tough balancing act. Great, you play a lot of good teams. And I'm not talking about this baseball schedule. I'm just saying any team in any conference anywhere. Whenever you get the balance between losses and schedule strength, or wins and schedule strength, and you get into, well, yeah, no, they've played the toughest schedule in America. Okay, duly noted. Does matter. Absolutely matters. Matters greatly. It's a big part of the evaluation. What's their record in the games against the best schedule in America? Oh, they're sub 500.
Right.
Yeah, it's great you're playing the games, but you got to win some of the games. You see, this is how it works.
Yeah, so number 5 in the pseudo RPI right now is Xavier. They're 11-13. 11 wins, 13 losses. So there's a lot of noise in the system, but I always am looking for top 16 national seed, top 8 national seed, and so this week will help you in that regard, just by playing it, first of all, because that's the way the strength of schedule thing works. Just by playing these games is going to help you.
Yeah, it works a lot.
Yeah, we set the goal for 5 wins over the stretch, 5-2 over the stretch of 7 games. That's what we said last week.
Yeah,
in the midst of the run rule against Miami. All right, so you suffered 1 setback. So can you find 3 wins this week? 3 with Notre Dame, 1 with Florida tomorrow night. If you do that,
tough win of 3 of the 4. That's tough.
After you didn't sweep Miami, yeah. I think we were figuring on getting to 5-2 over that stretch, a sweep of Miami, but it doesn't happen. So work ahead. If they do that, though, they're going to be right squarely in that national seed discussion, right on schedule.
All right, I'll tackle a few things here. We've got Florida State football to talk about. We do have some elements of the tournament to talk about. I do want to acknowledge, because it's a bygone era, but I watched most of it, not the early stuff, but I certainly pseudo have a bit of a boxing background in terms of loving the sport. I do have to acknowledge George Foreman's passing. I want to touch on that for a second. We'll also look a little bit at what Luke Laux had to say. We haven't had a chance to talk about that as well, and Florida State's place in the big picture with college basketball being at the forefront right now. A lot to do. Jeff Cameron, Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, and Warchant TV.
Gather around Tallahassee. It's time to fire up the grill and make some unforgettable family memories, courtesy of Hearth and Patio. Whether it's juicy steaks, succulent burgers, or those special family recipe ribs, they've got the grills that will make your backyard the hottest spot in town. From gas to charcoal, they have the perfect grill for every meat lover's dream. Call Hearth and Patio today, where the quality of your cookout is their passion. Give them a call today, 850-727-4282. That's 850-727-4282, or online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com.
Your body is a masterpiece designed to heal itself from within. Learn how to maximize your health by tuning in to Phenomenal Health with me, Dr. Ryan Finn. Saturdays at 2:30. Experience true health today and call Finn Chiropractic at 386-7700.
Country rock trailblazer Brantley Gilbert, the Tattoo Tour 2025. The Donald L. Tucker Civic Center on Friday, April 11th, with special guests Travis Denning and Austin Snell. Tickets are on sale now. Ticketmaster.com. The brand new album Tattoos is available everywhere. For more, visit BrantleyGilbert.com. Produced by Pepper Entertainment.
Hey, everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 373031. All right, about that time to upgrade my iPad and my Apple Gear. How much memory do I need? What upgrade should I get? What size screens? How many chargers do I need? USB-C, USB-D, mini USB, USB-B, ABC, 1, 2, 3?
If only there was a local business that can guide you and help you understand what you need and get you the best pricing possible. Oh, wait, that's what they do at Mac and More Systems. Get help buying the right gear for the right price and have it shipped directly to their store for pickup, all at no extra cost. That's the kind of service you won't get at any big box store. Shop local at Mac and More Systems. Find out more online at macandmoresystems.com.
Well, it's so great being back in the Oval Office looking out over the White House lawn. Speaking of lawns, I got to tell you about the Lawn Johns. They're the best. Anything from basic lawn care like mowing, edging, weed eating, and they can do even a full landscape design. Believe me, it's incredible. In fact, Elon and I have big plans, and we're going to grow grass on the moon, and guess who's going to be doing the lawn up there? Yeah, you got it, the Lawn Johns. Call them right now, or for a free estimate, you can visit them online at thelawnjohns.com.
Science-backed, technology tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
All right, so from a football standpoint, there isn't much. Obviously, they're just kind of underway. You get the synopsis after practice from the head coach, in which there has been a description of good work, right? Good work being done. I think that's what we're told, right? And short of that, I can't tell you anything. I have no idea. None of us do. Just what they tell us. And maybe a report here and there about an injury. Maybe a report here or there from sources saying that, you've got Brock Glenn playing pretty well and pushing Tommy Castellanos, as the number one quarterback. There you go, Tom. That's it. That's all. Done talking football. What can you do?
Okay. Coming up next. No whispers. Nobody around practice saying, hey, buddy, what do you hear about this guy or that guy?
No.
Looked very good in day one of pads. He ran around fast.
Yeah, nothing yet. It'll get juicier and better, I suppose, this week. I thought at the end of last week when we did do the pod together on that Friday before we left town that the most interesting thing was that you had a lot of praise for the backup quarterback, and then we got word that he was getting the majority of the reps, and we thought that interesting, if not odd. But I don't know that it means anything, and I'm not willing to make that leap yet, and we'll wait and see. And I know Corey wrote a story about it on Warchant.com, and I think the angle of that story is the right angle to take because we can't see these practices, but the angle to take is that it's interesting that he's here. What does that mean? What's at the end of the day, if you're Brock Glenn, they didn't bring in Tommy Castellanos to sit.
Right, which is
so, but yeah.
Yeah, so last year watching Brock manage in camps, I thought he acted like somebody who knew that this was going to be, DJ's offense, no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to besmirch him. I think that's human nature. You get sense that, man, he was pushing, I thought, and we discussed this openly on the air.
Yeah.
When there was an injury problem the year prior or concerns, you saw a surge out of Brock and you thought, whoa, okay, he thinks that maybe he can run down Tate.
He's got a shot
as the backup to Jordan. And last year I thought, no, well,
it's kind of easy to think you might run down Tate.
Well, and or that, there might be an opportunity if
Right.
Jordan gets banged up.
Right.
There's just that it seems like there's a real shot there. Last year it seemed like it was more defeated. And again, I'm putting words into what I saw. I'm just saying that there was no challenge. There was no nothing. It was DJ's offense, win, lose, or draw. And it was lose. And that was what it was going to be. That he's competing with Tommy and saying, yeah, I know we brought in another transfer quarterback, but he's going to push that discussion is good. if we keep hearing about it in a week,
then it becomes a story.
Then it becomes something where you go, whoa, okay. All right. Because they clearly like him top to bottom. The coaches do, the players do.
Well, I think that's the part that I find fascinating. You got to give him credit in this way. I think Tommy Castellanos is going to be the starter for Florida State this year. I don't believe it's going to be Brock Glenn. I don't really care if it is or it isn't. I just want to win football games. What I really care about is that they're able to execute this offense at a high level in a way that they certainly couldn't a year ago. I want the defense to look a lot better. I'll be monitoring that. I want to know who wins some of these jobs where the competition is heated. It is just spring, fresh off a 2-10 season. It's hard to wrap your mind around what any of this means until we get to the fall, because right now what we're looking at is the acclimation period, which, tough to derive a lot from that, especially early in camp. I'm not going to pretend that it's a big to-do. We are following it. I do have opportunities to touch base with my sources, just as everybody on this staff does and everybody on the beat does, to try to get information regarding health of players. Mike is going to answer whatever he wants to answer, but you can already tell this is a close to the vest version of Mike, not only because he shut down practice, which whatever, that's his prerogative. It's also clear through the answers that he gives to questions that he's not going to give much right now either.
No, he's tired of being asked about physicality. You can tell that much.
Yeah, I'm sure he's frustrated. He's heard it from shows like this one and others, wondering whether or not this team is going to be more physical than they've been. He's pushed back on that when asked the question. He says we've been physical. Simply isn't true. They haven't been. And that's fine. He's going to tell you whatever he's going to tell you. We'll see what they are really, frankly, in the fall. That's kind of what everybody, I would imagine, that our audience, both the listeners of this show or Wake Up Warchant or the readers of Warchant.com or anybody that's associated with anything that we do in terms of content and what we provide, are still going to look, as they should, with a jaundiced eye to Florida State football until there's proof otherwise.
Yeah, they should, and you should be skeptical. However, I think it is incumbent upon us to find, if we can, more options being cultivated, because the more options you have, the more insulation you have against either injuries and or you have competitions that are allowing you to not just gift people starting roles and or a higher snap count. And I think that was part of the issue last year, was there were guys that were going to most certainly start and be in the mix. And Mike in previous years had Dylan Gibbons and Jermaine Johnson and Jared Verse and Braden Fisk in those roles where I'm not going to work out all that hard in practice. We know what we have. He went on the record and said this, so I'm not speaking out of school. He said, we know what we have in these guys. And they handled it like adults, and they were prepared and they were ready to go. Last year's guys, who we know what we have,
did not.
Well, clearly not, because they didn't look prepared on game day. And so this year, my hope is that when we do catch those whispers, it's about 3 and 4 dudes at a position and saying, hey, I understand that they brought this kid in who's a transfer, or they brought this kid, dude, but don't be so certain that he starts because he's getting pushed by so-and-so. Like, that's what I'm hoping to hear a hell of a lot more of.
And I guess to further illuminate on what you just said, and I guess follow up on that, is yeah, the team really likes, again, whether or not this means anything, the team really does like Brock Glenn. We hear that from all of those kids. It's universal. He's very popular in the locker room. And I would guess that's because he's been through it with them. He's been through some of the really tough times and some of the great moments too. So he's been through it. You're easy to like when you've gone through something together and you've seen the sacrifice firsthand.
You caught wind about him being a leader type, though, and I find that interesting because usually you have to be good to do it. So
usually you do, and he wasn't last year.
The fact that you stink and yet you've done enough, because I mean, come on, man. When he's walking to the sideline at Duke, you think people are smiling and saying, "It's all right, leader Brock, we got you."
Right.
You got to earn it back. So whatever he's done in the offseason to reestablish credibility after performance has stripped him of said credibility, that's not nothing. That's not just sticking around to be at Florida State because you want to ride it out. You're sticking around at Florida State because you see an opportunity for you to actually develop and do something with your career. That's good for him.
I wish him well. I'll say also that to me, it seems like, at least for now, a bit of a smokescreen to nothing, because here's the deal. They want Tommy Castellanos to start. They didn't bring him in here to sit the bench. And he's also had good practices, and we've heard the coaches say that he's looked good throwing the football, which is interesting. That's usually the area where he is most inconsistent. It's not that he can't. It's just that he's not wildly consistent when doing so. So to hear that he's been good down the football field, it's nice to hear. I wonder how that's going to work, what they're trying to do with that. That's great to hear. You'd rather have that option than not. So again, I'm happy about, this pseudo competition and perhaps leadership roles and all those sorts of things, but I can hear it when we talk, and I know how it sounds to the listener, and I know how it sounds to the people who are still a little cynical, a little jaded by 2-10. They're like, great, good to hear.
Well, yeah, Lee's saying, like, fellas, he's not it, referring to Brock.
I know.
Hey, man.
We're not saying he is.
I'm not saying this era isn't it.
No.
Where we are 2-10 isn't it.
No.
And we talked about this off the air a lot today.
Oh, yeah.
The goals for this season is not it.
No, I hate it. I hate where we're at. I hate it. And I have to be very careful not to let that cloud the daily overall attitude I have towards covering the program, because the fan in me gets upset that we're holding this coaching staff, this head coach, and this program to the lowest of expectations. Born from 2-10 becomes this idea that can they just get to 8 wins? And then when you say it out loud and you realize the rich history of Florida State and what they should be and what they can be when they operate at peak efficiency, you get pissed off all over again.
Well, yeah, our expectations mirror those of Bill Belichick's in North Carolina this year. Hey, can you do a little something to establish credibility? That's what it feels like. Now, that's a first-year head coach, and we're in year whatever.
Six.
Okay. But that's what it feels like this year, is that we are trying to rid ourselves of 2-10 by establishing some sort of foundation.
Slightly above mediocrity level.
Right. That's what a foundational.
Right. It stinks. And yet, understanding that in a sense, this is what you have to reasonably look towards. But that feels unacceptable. It feels like, because next year at this time, say they go 8-4, you'll then be talking about 7th year head coach. 7 years.
Right. Well, and at that point, you're looking for 10, and you got Alabama on the road as one of those games, but you're looking for 10, and you take that step, because you would need to have stabilized the mess. Have you restabilized the mess, and can you launch forward from there? That's what we're looking for. So, yeah, I hear you that we shouldn't be discussing whether Brock Glenn is legitimately going to challenge Tommy Castellanos. That's not going to get it done in Florida State most years. But in this year that we have, the goal before us is a lower hurdle to clear. And Brock might be good enough to do that. That's possible. But, he's had some nice moments in camps before. So a week from now, you need to consistently hear that he's
When's the scrimmage, Tom?
Well, judging by media, they haven't announced those, and we're supposed to get into one of them.
Well, right. Yes. When's that scrimmage?
I don't know.
Yeah, they don't have that many practices. When's that scrimmage?
Well, they got 12 left.
Right. 12 practices. Not much.
If I'm going to use some deductive reasoning here, we would get the coordinators in addition to Mike after scrimmages. Yeah. Like in previous camps, you would get Fuller and you'd get Atkins.
Yeah. But we don't know if we're going to get him this year.
Well, I know the dates that we do get coordinators in our schedule.
All right.
This Saturday, we get the coordinators in addition to Mike.
You think that's a scrimmage day?
That's what
this Saturday.
2 + 2. I would think that would be scrimmage
All
number
right.
1.
Let's roll on Big River. Here we go. Something to talk about. Something with meat on the bones. We get to go see the scrimmage?
We get to see one. I doubt
you don't think it's this
one.
Saturday? No. They wouldn't send us to the first scrimmage.
The following Saturday, we get the coordinators again.
So you think that's going to be the one?
If I had to guess, and this really isn't, I'm just looking at it.
We're having fun with it.
Could be.
Spitballing.
Then the 19th of April, the final day, you get the coordinators as well. So I don't know. Would they conclude practice with a scrimmage? That would go against what they typically have done. So maybe the 5th. But I'm going to assume that there's a scrimmage on Saturday because we're getting coordinators.
Shannon Young has made a move to be part of the nation's largest mortgage company now with Cross Country Mortgage. This is good news for you because you'll get better rates, you get better options, faster response, and a stronger support team. He's now serving 7 states. Shannon's the best, man. Really good at what he does. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, and the Carolinas. You can access him. Go to loansforknowles.com. Make it happen. Shannon's 20-plus years of experience, and I will say relentless goal-oriented attitude means good news for you, and he loves helping his fellow Knowles out the best loan options to buy right now. Go to loansforknowles.com. Loansforknowles.com.
Your local news now.
A man is dead and officers are investigating a shooting that occurred early Sunday morning. Officers are... Unanimously, the Senate version is still in committees. This is Rachel Anay with Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Frombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Cloudy this afternoon with a chance for storms. High of 74, southwest winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Cloudy with fog tonight, chance for storms, lows level off around 58. Slight chance for storms with fog early tomorrow, highs around 81. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently 70.
See Nice Tire and Auto Service at 4792 Bluntstown Highway today. The ASC trained technicians at Nice take the guesswork out of fixing your car. That's why wherever you see the Goodyear sign, you'll find what you want in tires and service. From preventative maintenance to a major overhaul and everything in between, you name it. Plus, Nice's services are backed by a nationwide limited warranty. Stop by Nice Tire and Auto Service. 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean, you know.
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Jeff.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I was just noticing, Tom, that there was a discussion here that the game is not on television tomorrow.
It doesn't appear to be that way. Yeah, the one at the baseball grounds in Jacksonville. This happens all the damn time. Nobody wants to pay for it, which is really annoying. So we need to stop going to the baseball grounds at Jacksonville if nobody's going to pay for the video broadcast of it. Stop going.
Well, I think it's stupid anyhow, but I know why they do it.
Because I feel like there's been, in the last 10, 12 years, how long have they been doing this? A long time now.
Mm-hmm.
An 11th hour, something happens and somebody picks it up on SEC Network
Somebody always
Extra or
seems
ACC.
to pick it up. Yeah,
right.
I don't recall not being able to see it.
I remember that a couple times in the last decade. Yeah, where it's just straight radio. It's good for Lulu.
Maybe I'll just drive over. Watch the game.
You could.
I could. Call in the press pass and saddle up, watch a little baseball.
But yeah, it seems like there's always some kind of politics because you don't have ACC or SEC Network personnel there who wants to foot the bill. Why don't you just split it? I don't understand. Do they split the gate? Does the baseball grounds take all the money? Clearly, there has to be some sort of negotiated arrangement between the two schools in order to play at the baseball grounds in the first place.
It does gangbusters in terms of attendance, and that's why they do it. And it is I've been there a couple of times. I haven't done it much because it's always midweek. And it's, I don't want to drive the hell over to Jacksonville for a midweek college baseball game and turn right around and be back here doing whatever I have to do in the morning, which is, be a dad and do all those things. So it's it's a little frustrating, but I will say that I missed all I'll say is I missed the days, not of the series. I'm not going to do my normal lament. You were about to type it in. I'm not doing that. Everybody knows what I feel about that. I do miss that, but I miss the days of Sunshine Network.
Mm-hmm.
Sunshine Network. My man Tom Block. Sunshine Network. Tuning in to the vast majority of Florida State baseball games on Sunshine Network, at least the ones that I wasn't already attending over at Dick Hauser Stadium. I loved it. You were able to sit back. And, the beauty of Sunshine Network was that you could watch Florida State baseball when they were on the road. You sure as hell were going to see Florida State baseball if they were facing another Florida team. There was no chance you weren't going to see that. But it wasn't just about that. You got a chance to keep tabs on Florida, tabs on Miami. You got to see all of the teams in the state frequently showcased on, Sunshine Network. It was great.
Yes, I remember too, even towards the end, Miami came off of Sunshine Network, and so they were picked up on Comcast Sports Network, but that was always a part of the channel package that you would get, CSS, and it was, very like channel 16. But there they would be, and you would get a lot of college baseball on the TV.
Tons of it. And later on, when the channel got bastardized and was on its last legs, we ended up, flipping over there, and you'd go, what the hell are we doing here? This is Auburn volleyball. Why is this on?
That's right.
Why is Auburn volleyball on? This is the Sunshine Network. This is Florida. Can we get one? Show me JU and Stetson. I don't care. Something other than this.
Hey, man, I got to figure it out the first couple of weeks of baseball. So the Mets play 6 with the Marlins. I didn't have to worry about this last year. Last year, I was like, hey, it's all on SNY. I'm up there. But I'm going to have to go to the bar, I guess. Damn it. What a terrible thing. I have to go to Corner Pocket.
Speaking of which, this Thursday. Hey, now. All right, kids. This Thursday is opening day in Major League Baseball. It's a beautiful thing. And because it is, we'll celebrate as we're wont to do. We will be over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill this Thursday, beginning at 4 o'clock, maybe a little bit sooner. We'll put in that last hour, the power hour, bonus hour, like we usually do. And
with some probables?
Yeah, probables. We will make our way over to the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachian Parkway. And, you keep it together today. You keep it together tomorrow. You keep it together Wednesday. And then you get a little silly Thursday. I'm not talking about, being a fall down drunk. I'm talking about your diet combination of a tall boy with a hot dog on a Thursday kind of blows your diet all to hell. It's also
you're not going to
awesome.
have one hot dog.
And you're not, nor should you. It's opening day, Major League Baseball and the Vegas Wall. TVs everywhere.
We got the slate of games. I'm scrolling through them right now.
There they are. There you are. So, So by the way, your Mets are at the Houston Astros. Scroll down to the real game, which would be the Pittsburgh Pirates at 4:10, taking on the Miami Marlins.
Skeens Alcantara. Oh,
yeah. Paul and Sandy. Let's make it happen. 4:10 p.m. It is fun to see that she's making a start, which I'll get to announce this weekend or this week.
Chris Sale, Michael King for Braves Padres. All right.
Braves Padres is a really good series to start the year. Detroit at Los Angeles. That's not going to be
7:10. Yeah, we'll be gone.
Oh, we'll be gone, but I'll be
1-0.
But I'll be watching.
Yep.
Because that's Tariq Skubal versus TBD.
I have resolved that I'm going to watch a lot more of Mariners baseball this year.
It's fun.
For Cal Raleigh. I want to watch more Cal Raleigh this year.
I've already been doing that. Unfortunately, the Mariners announcer, who is awesome, is now the Yankees announcer. They hired.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, for radio?
Yeah. No. Yeah, they did. I think TV and radio, isn't it?
Well, they came from Michael K's job? That would be
great.
great.
That would be great. I mean, that's needed to be done for years.
Last year, that was the best. He said he'd put his crew up against the Mets crew any day. I'm like, man, this is the one thing that your organization does not do as well. Everything else, Yankees organization, superior to the Mets. History, current player treatment, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'd put us up against Gary, Keith, and Ron any day. And his co-hosts at Two Brute went, ooh, I don't know, Michael.
It was hurtful to hear.
Know.
It was tough to listen to. You're like, oh, sir, that's just not true. You know it's not. Stop it. And you were not helped out by your terrible PA. It was all of it. All of it was just, it was sort of just a schmaltzy. Nothing about it was any good.
What won't be schmaltzy is the 4 hot dogs I will consume on Thursday.
You're going to limit yourself to 4?
Well, I promised 4 to myself. A
Yeah,
couple of them with onions. Only a couple with the onions, diced onions.
I want to follow up on something Harvard Blue wrote here. I don't take offense to this at all. It's an interesting conversation, and it kind of is at the root of our larger discussion about Florida State and frustration that surrounds the topic of Florida State football. But you can highlight it if you want right now, but I'll read it here. I'll read this, and then we'll ponder it for a moment, and then we'll come back and answer it. Tom and Jeff, y'all talk about this football team with delusions of the past. It's time to leave the matrix and come into the real world. Yeah, we do for good reason, and there is fairness to your observation, but there is also nuance to that discussion. So we'll explain a little bit more on that because it's kind of a fun topic. Chef Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
On the front lines, fighting the insanity of the woke, it's Matt and Brett Oster with America in View.
They help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
When you need the plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to wait?
Hey guys, we really need you over here. My toddler just flushed a whole bunch of toys down the toilet and everything, and I mean everything, is backing up.
2 hours?
Hey guys, just checking in. The water has reached the hallway now and it's getting pretty deep. Can you get here anytime soon?
4 hours?
Hey guys, can you please hurry? Now my wiener dog is doing the backstroke over here and they're not known to be strong swimmers. Hey honey, grab his life jacket.
8 hours?
Oh, so now you're here.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. Our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. And now M&L Plumbing can also be your go-to for all septic tank pump-out services. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing. Your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or online at mnlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3 WVFT, Present Tallahassee.
Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas.
Florida ends two-time national champion UConn's run to a third title in the second round of the NCAA tournament yesterday. The Gators move on to the Sweet 16 West Region. San Francisco at the Chase Center on Thursday. Gators are 5.5-point favorites over the Maryland Terrapins, 154.5. The total. In the other West Region semifinal, Texas Tech laying 5.5 against Arkansas, 146.5. The total. CBI quarterfinals in Daytona Beach. It's Jacksonville, a 3.5-point favorite over Incarnate Word. The total, 140.5. $250 bonus, and you open up a GBank Visa signature card. Visa.com/GBank. Mike Sennett, Real Talk 93.3.
The new KFC Dunk It Bucket with juicy original recipe tenders, new mashed potato poppers, crispy fries, plus 3 sauces that fit right on top of the lid, so you can dunk anywhere. You can dunk at the game. Dunk while security points to the no outside food sign. And dunk as 20,000 people watch you and your Dunk It Bucket get removed from the stadium. Dunk almost anywhere with the new $7 KFC Dunk It Bucket, or get the double Dunk It Bucket for $25. Prices and participation vary while supplies last. Taxes, tips, and fees extra.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Give your business a facelift with a modern, consistent, creative brand overhaul from Curiosity Marketing Group. These days, it's not enough for your business just to have a standard website or a Google listing to reach your customers. Your business needs to stand out with eye-popping branding, modern web development, and strong marketing. And it takes a team to pull it all together. Words and websites matter. At Curiosity, we make the most of yours. Find out more at curiositymg.com.
I used to fight almost on a daily basis working on my business website. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I could never get it to function the way I needed it to, and I was losing customers because of it. That's when I called Curiosity Marketing. They listened, they understood, we collaborated, and in the end, they delivered beyond my highest expectations. Now, I can barely keep up with the work. They say the future belongs to the curious, and now I'm excited about the future of my business.
Find out more at curiositymg.com.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
having that on in the background every day you come home, you don't have to be locked in. It's a 162-game season. It's a big league. There's all those things. I mean, obviously, I watch my team. You watch your team. Yes. We all do that. But if you're a baseball fan, it's the sights, the sounds. You're making dinner in the kitchen. You hear foul ball. You hear the conversation. It's just nice. It's the right kind of sort of white noise serving as your backdrop in the evenings on weekdays. And it just beats the hell out of like kind of flipping around trying to find something. You're good. You got that. You got your hockey, Tom.
You just went through the last weekend without Major League Baseball that you're going to go through until the month
November.
Of October.
Well, really,
yeah,
anymore November.
Sometimes they stay away. I'm being technical. Sometimes they stay away from NFL Sundays for that reason. They don't want to co-brand. But you're going to get through the month of September with baseball every single weekend.
Yeah, it's glorious. It is glorious. And we're in the meat and potatoes of what's happening with FSU baseball. Big game tomorrow, fresh off the series win against Miami. I didn't mention a couple of things. We were having a fun little game where we were talking about the good and the bad of the weekend that was the series against Miami. It looks to me like, Tom, that a guy they were high on before the season and a guy who had a big game early in the season against JU is DeLamielleure, and he looks like your left fielder. I think they've got it figured out. Now, there's been a series of guys because of injury, but he's played well. It looks like I think offensively he's going to emerge. He's got a little something to him.
Again, yes, just seeing the way that they were putting together innings in the back half of the lineup, the lower half of the lineup wasn't automatically going to be a problem, and outs. That's starting to build into a nice place. Now, I know it might be a bit of a mirage because Miami sucks. So, especially on the mound. So it might be a little bit of a mirage, but you're right. It's more than just the Miami weekend talking points. You've got now a chance tomorrow to prove that, hey, can we actually speed up the bats a little bit to match 96 and 97 with consistency? We've got tape. We've been in there. You're in the box at home and you're feeling the weight of that, especially as you're starting to lose the game. The psychology of that night was its own bear. Can you go to the neutral site tomorrow and show that you have grown? Because if they put up a 5 or 6 spot tomorrow, I'm starting to feel like, here we go. This offense is about to take off and take us to a good place.
Well, Georgia gave him a roadmap.
I know, but unfortunately, Georgia's in this other plateau. I don't know when the hell that baseball program came to life, maybe with all the SEC television money, but there they are. With us, we got a brisk jog tomorrow. We're walking. We're not crawling. We need a brisk jog against Florida and those power arms tomorrow night.
Florida State is 20-3, ranked in the top 5, and away we go for the rest of the season. It gets better to me. The matchups become better almost every weekend, which I enjoy because you have faced the bottom feeders of the league in the ACC so far, and it's time. It's time to step it up. And you're going to lose some games when that happens, and you don't overreact to that. But it's nice to see those kinds of matchups where there's a weightiness, a gravitas to those matchups a little bit, and that is a good thing. All right, so before the break, I just want to tackle this before I move forward with anything, because we have kind of talked about this. I don't know that we certainly haven't danced around it, but it's crucial to the question what's reasonable to expect of Florida State football being what they've been, say, in the last 10 years, 15 years, right? And Harvard Blue pointed out, Tom and Jeff, y'all talk about this football team with delusions of the past. It's time to leave the matrix and come into the real world. So there's lots of ways to look at it, because to Harvard Blue's point, I don't know, about a week ago, now, Harvard Blue, you may have missed this, because if you had heard it, you may not have posted that. Although this is not pushback, this is not like I'm not being defensive. I just want to point out that I was saying to you when I was making the case as to why so jaded regarding Mike Norvell, Florida State football, where we're at. I said, because 50% of the time in the last 10 years, we've had a losing season. That ain't it. I mean, it's insane to say that out loud.
Yeah, I pulled up those schedules year by year and we went through it. Yeah,
it's crazy to think about. 50% of the time in the last decade, you've had a losing season. And let's be real, you play in the ACC. So,
yeah,
it's especially hurtful.
Now, the carrot that is constantly dangled is that when you are pretty close to peak efficiency, as you like to say, when you're and you're in the ballpark, you win here quick.
Yes, you do.
Because Mike did. Now, he lost here in an epic way. Not trying to.
That's true too.
I'm not trying to look at either or. Both are true. But consider that the dude who just lost 10 games was able to win a lot in a row, win
19
in a row, win an ACC championship, make an excellent case for the Invitational, even though they didn't go. And it was 9 wins the year before. So you get in the ballpark at Florida State and boom. So I don't know that that's living in the matrix. Mike did it. We're not 3 coaches removed from somebody who did it. It just happened.
What's weird is that we are outliers on both sides.
Yes.
We do strange things. So Harvard Blue followed up with, it's all understandable, but it's been shaky on the other coaches' watches too. It's weird. It's very strange. Now, it's worthy of doing a case-by-case study. Obviously Bobby Bowden was a legend and won big and won 2 national titles, and Florida State was an annual contender. But at the end of his career, we know what it was. And I was on the airwaves back then too. In fact, I was the first to champion that things were going in the wrong direction and that time was running out on a legend. Much to this dismay of many, that's how this thing got started. And so you endured, but you endured for good reason. And I look back on it now and, it's all what it was. Okay. We saw that the slow decline of a legend. But that said, we were really excited about the hire of Jimbo Fisher, and that enthusiasm surrounding that hire turned out to be warranted. Florida State was able to emerge from that quote unquote lost decade or period of mediocrity, if that phrasing offends you, and turn into a giant, one that won 29 in a row, dominated college football for a 2-year stretch, and won the national championship with an undefeated season. And you're like, okay, well, there it is again. There it is. That's what you're capable of. You're good to go. And unfortunately, and this is part of the, are you kidding me? Which is that guy did that thing, and then a whole bunch of things, both on and off the field, occurred, and we saw the rapid decline in production there. I mean, the almost unforeseeable falling off the cliff, the proverbial cliff.
Spectacular in the realest sense of the word. A spectacular drop-off.
That is right. Just a spectacular drop-off. And you're just sitting there thinking, well, I didn't see that coming. Then they whiffed on a hire, and obviously that was short-lived. And then they brought in Mike Norvell. And Mike did inherit some terrible bad luck, including a pandemic, which leads to a really ominous start to his time at Florida State. And fair-minded, reasonable people said, okay, like this isn't ideal, but I'm gonna give you a wide berth by which to work, and we'll see what happens from here. And just when you were this close to saying, I don't know, guys, this isn't going the way I'd hoped, dude won 10 games. And you went, all right. Now we were able to get some footing. It was slippery as all hell around here for a stretch, but we've got some footing now. We can stand upright, walk with pride, shoulders back, chest out. Let's go. Let's strike boldly into our future. And lo and behold, a 12-0 regular season campaign, a conference championship, a 13th win, and obviously the snub occurs and you get the daylights beaten out of you by Georgia in the bowl game, and subsequently nothing's been right. And this is why we're kind of where we're at. You feel there's a sense of real limbo because the catastrophic occurred, and it's not an excuse for 2-10. It can't be. It's okay to have felt absolute rage, disappointment, gutted, whatever you want to describe it as, and say that, man, I think it had an effect. It may have. How quantifiable is it? I'm not sure. We all debate that, but we know that it had an adverse effect. It should have never had the kind of effect that left one's program in a 2-10 spot. Not in this league or any other. 2-10 is completely unacceptable, and it is a failure of the head coach, which is why he finds himself in a unique position, both having authored an undefeated regular season and the worst in program history. That is unique to say the least.
In consecutive seasons.
It is unique to say the least. It's hard to wrap your mind around. It's why you see the pie in the sky ambition, they could be great, he could be great, they could maybe compete for soon a national championship, married to a whole nother subset of expectations, which are down here, which lead to half the fan base saying, fire this son of a bitch today. And the other half going, have you forgotten about 12-0? And then the two argue with each other, and everybody else figures out, well, where am I? Where am I in this? Because I am equally as mad as this group over here about 2-10, but I am reasonable and do remember this. It's tough.
It's the reality of where you are, that what set us off and down the path is that the expectations for this season are to bounce back and little else. If you do something special, that would be unforeseen. But the bounce back, use your favorite sport analogy, we'll go to golf. Justin Thomas has not won a tournament in 3 years. And he's won 2 majors. And he shot numbers like 62 at the Players just a week ago.
And he went 65, 67 on the weekend and finished second this week. Yeah.
He competed at the Valspar this weekend. Almost won it.
Yeah.
That's what this year is for us. We're in the Valspar, and we need to prove that we can compete in the Valspar. We are not in the majors.
Can we grab a top 10 at the Valspar?
Like, there's Augusta. Yeah, like, I'll play it.
How are we going to handle the snake pit?
We're playing Alabama. We're playing Clemson. You know, we're going to play those games. Those are the majors. But right now, we got to focus on making the cut and competing in the Valspar. That's where we are. And I hate it too, but you got to do that first.
Yeah.
You have to.
But again, if you do, Tom, you did just compete in the Valspar.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't even win it. You just kind of competed in the Valspar. You gave it a good go in the Valspar.
But you have to.
Right.
The Valspar will be important.
But it doesn't resonate for weeks on end the way that a major would. Certainly, a major would have you, I don't know, categorized completely different.
But it's better than people saying, boy, oh boy, he missed the cut at the Valspar.
Right.
He can't even compete at the Valspar.
Right. That's a tough course, but
the analogy wouldn't hold then, because the ACC is not a tough track.
No, it's not a tough track.
So, you know,
yeah,
you got to make the cut and compete in the. That's this year, and I hate it too. But yeah, this is what we have. So
struggled to make the cut in the Mexico Open.
Right,
that's a toughie.
This is what we have.
Not much of a field there. Should make the cut.
And I think it's perfectly natural for you and I to have damn it, man moments like we did last hour, where we go, look, man, yeah, I know. We're talking about, is Brock going to push Tommy Castellanos?
Ooh. I'm not talking about much, but yes.
But that's what we need. We got to talk about it, because we've got to compete in the greater Valspar of college football.
There's a lot of ways to talk about where this program is at, especially for people, and I mean this now, if you have a real sense of this program's history. Now, I'm not tooting my own horn here, but as somebody who's covered this program, is a Knoll, cares deeply, I have done so for 27 plus years, and I've seen it all. The very good, the very, very good, the very best there is. And now, the bottom of the barrel, down deep in the muck, behind the trash bin of a poor bar, wearing it, all of it, and everything in between, Tom. And it's bizarre to be in that position given what this program is when operating at peak efficiency. It is incredible to think that the other was even possible. And I'd like to think that because you have the benefit of hindsight, you've lived some years, you have perspective, that you're able to balance the good and the bad. You're entertaining both simultaneously, understanding exactly where we are, where we've been, what's possible, and obviously, unfortunately, what's possible. Like all of that, right? You can entertain all that. And it does, for me, and I think for many, even those who lean decidedly optimistic, even for those that the glass is always half full, I think it computes to frustration. Fear is not the right word, but I think real concern for the program in the modern era, in the modern game, concern for the immediate future, concern for the idea that they may be on the crux of having to start over. And it scares the hell out of you. It's why you get extreme reactions to it. It's why if you're on the other side of it, if you think that people are overreacting or are reactionaries to a bad season and they throw out the baby with the bathwater, if you think that they only cite last year's shortcomings, to say the least, and never bring up the successes of the previous two seasons, you think they're imbalanced in their approach to assessing Mike in the football program. If you're on that side of the fence, you push back so vehemently because you're scared that we're right, that he's not the guy. And then if you're on the side of you are overly negative, you are so far down the track of dismissal, refusal to believe in.
You don't smile in life at all.
Whatever it is, right? However you want to describe it. You then are jaded to a point where it is irrational because you are amongst the group of people who would excuse away, explain away, deflect the successes of 19 straight wins. It's hard to find the balanced middleman approach to where Florida State football is at. And it's really hard because I think you can rightfully do both. I think you can absolutely admit that there's a good chance Mike's not going to be the guy and that we're watching his inevitable demise, that we are watching the beginning of the end of Mike Norvell here at Florida State. Sounds dramatic. I don't mean it to be. He's just a football coach. He'll either be here or he won't. But that's what I mean. It's like you can feel that way. You can sense that. You know who usually has to fire their staff? A coach who's up against the wall on the verge of being fired himself. That's who usually has to fire his staff.
Yeah, and it's not something that it takes much to say from afar. Like if we were having that conversation about Oklahoma, right? I mean,
he would always
going back to calling plays defensively. He's going, well, you know what? I just figured that I probably need to get back to doing what I do. Yeah, you were told. You're going down, buddy.
Yeah, you're going down. It's you.
It's you.
But so you can do that.
Yeah.
And on the same principle, I can say to you, you know what? Last year's a blip on the radar. Last year is not indicative of what this man and this program is going to be. The proof is in the pudding from the two previous seasons. He had a major misstep in an era of college football that is unique to any other.
More fragile than any.
We've never seen a time like this where it's impossible to go from 2-10 to 10-2 or 10-2 to 2-10. But that's the reality of modern college football, where you can bring in a sea of transfers and change your reality, see Indiana, or you can absolutely go from the outhouse, the penthouse to the outhouse.
Well, this is what went back to the time when Jimbo was starting to spiral. He talked about checking his notes, but then he talked about reading Phil Jackson's call. It wasn't called a coach. That's
no call to coach is what you were talking about.
No, but he read Phil Jackson's book. He talked about he was reading excellent coaches in history.
Oh, right.
About how to back up the 2013 Natty.
Right.
And
I got concerned when we left that press conference.
Yes, attitude of domination was the phrase that he ended up using in 2014. Well, they won all the games, but there was the second half was an attitude of desperation, not domination, but through desperation, they had excellent second halves that year. For Mike, the one thing I'd say is there's no Phil Jackson book that says that, well, we thought we deserved to be in the NBA Finals, and we were not allowed to play in the NBA Finals. The NBA selection committee did not let us in. So if you're going to argue that it's a blip on the radar, that's where you would point back to. You would say, well, how do you manage a locker room in an era of NIL, unlimited transfers, and you just send a message to the kids in the locker room that you could do all the hard work you want and win all your games and it might not matter? How the hell are you supposed to navigate that and not have some level of toxicity in the locker room? If you're going to argue for Mike, that's how you would do it.
By the way, I should look this up, should have looked it up before I say it. Double check. I believe Phil Jackson's book is hilariously titled, because I always was impressed by this, 11 Rings. That's what it's titled. That's right. And it makes me laugh. James B is right in the chat answering Troy. I think he knows that. What Troy had posited was that if we don't make a bowl this season, coach is gone. Mike, the observation more and more from this fan base regarding Mike is that of a man who seems to have a grasp of just how desperate this situation is coming into this year. I see it every time he talks. Every time he addresses questions now, I see a man who is answering questions, sort of surface level effort, but in a much deeper thought process. It's behind the eyes. It's I have to answer this. We're playing the game, but there's so much more, and I can't get into it with you right now. I can't. I've got too much work to do. You know it and I know it. So let's just play the charade and let's see what happens this year. Either I'll save my job or I won't. I almost wish he could say it. I almost wish he could just say, look, you know what I know. I can sit here and tell you Brock Glenn had a good day today. What the hell? What's that even mean? I can tell you that I'm really excited.
Oh, he did that with the depth charts last year.
Yeah.
After he changed it. A depth chart means nothing to me. Then why'd you change it?
But I'm telling you, I think that he has the look when he's answering these questions of, I don't like this any more than you do. My job's on the line. So I'll tell you that we had a good day, or I'll tell you we had a bad day, and it doesn't really matter. I can tell you, that ideally I wouldn't have had to take this step and lock you guys out of practice. I really didn't want to, but we're up against it, and the assistants I brought in don't want you guys here. And frankly, it's not working for me with you guys here, so I'll go ahead and keep you guys away from practice. I'll give you some pseudo answers. I know you got stories to write. I respect you, but really none of this means anything, and you know it, and I know it, and let's just see what happens when the fall rolls around. Because, again, I'm either going to save my job or I'm not.
What's interesting is these arguments about is he, isn't he, the schedule's coming. The games are coming, and it will be determined. I will take a big sigh of relief when we announce a Power 2 destination. That's what I care about. Because at that point, I know that the funding will be there.
Do whatever you have to do.
Right.
Yeah, to do whatever you have to do.
And if the guy sucks, the next guy up, whoever it is, if they're terrible, they're fired. We've got the money. Instead of the behind-the-scenes thing we've been doing for decades here, and it's part of a proud tradition, really, is that you don't have the endowments that Florida does right down the road.
Not the fully endowed scholarships for all. Yeah.
You don't have generations of wealth pouring into the program the way that university does. And how the hell are we, in a 50-year span of time, more successful than they are?
Yeah, but I will say this. I agree with you. And if you're in an argument with a Florida fan, it's fair to bring up. But when we're just talking about Florida State, I don't care. We have done more with less. I'm tired of having to do more with less. And we aren't doing a whole hell of a lot these days.
That's why I'm saying I will. Yes. Yeah. Let's get on to even footing or something much, much closer to even footing.
But I don't want to excuse away or allow for he didn't fail because he didn't have money last year. They were all handsomely compensated.
Sure,
Everybody.
Sure.
Yes.
I'm just saying that I'm coping with 2-10 by thinking about, God, when we get on that Power 2, it'll just be so much easier to, without any hesitation, say, you're just bad. You're just bad at the gig.
Well, yeah. Well, and I think we're there. I think we're at a place now where, because we largely won in our efforts to get the ACC to concede more money and acknowledge the brand difference for us and Clemson compared to everybody else in this league. We largely won. There's a path out. There are all kinds of rumors, and I will say this, and I know we got a break, but there are all kinds of rumors out there that Florida State desperately wants out before 2030, that they are trying to leave sooner rather than later.
There'll be a video to that end on the channel later today.
Oh, well, there you go. Very cool. But we hear that. And I think, there's reason for optimism because of that. But I think everybody's at their wits' end with this wild inconsistency and the frustrations that it's hard. It's hard because I do think it's fair to bring up the other stuff and to note all these other things that Florida State's up against, but you washed away all your goodwill. You really, I said it in the middle of the last season. You lost all of the goodwill that you had built.
Well, you had
there isn't anymore
a sense of wonder, pride, and celebration around this football program for about 11 hours before the selection show. You had that one night in Charlotte. I was back home here.
Yeah.
You had one night, and then that was it. And since then, we've been angry for some kind of reason.
Yeah, good ones.
A lot of them.
There were 10 of them. 10. Incomprehensibly, there were 10 of them.
Well, yes. And dudes jumping around in broadcasting booths celebrating an Iron Bowl victory for no apparent reason. Things like that.
T-Spark Enterprises, conquer all peaks, kids. They're delighted to be back on board with us, and we're delighted to have them on board for your commercial and residential roofing and construction needs. Just call T-Spark Enterprises today at 850-766-1340. They serve North Florida and South Georgia areas such as Tallahassee, Monticello, Havana, Quincy, Crawfordville, Wakulla, Madison, Thomasville, Bainbridge. We're going on and on. Great restaurant over in Bainbridge. Really good food. I think it's called the American. It's really good. Anyhow, T-Spark, I just gave them a little love. T-Spark not only does commercial and residential roofing, but also helps with home remodeling, additions, and businesses that need updates or build-outs. Check out their website for all the construction services they provide. T-Spark Enterprises. Once again, that number, 850-766-1340.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
There's no heating and
Hey everybody, this is Shannon Young with Cross Country Mortgage. Been in the industry now for 22 years. I just made the move over to the nation's largest retail lender, Cross Country Mortgage, here to serve you in 7 states, including Florida, Georgia, Alabama, the Carolinas, Tennessee, and the state of Texas. Here to offer better service, better rates, and if you were thinking about buying or if you've been on the fence and been waiting to call me, now is the time. You can still find me at loansforknowles.com. That is, again, loansforknowles.com. I've helped thousands of fellow Knowles get into their dream home, and I can't wait to help you get into yours. Give me a call today. I'm at 954-369-6171, or go to loansforknowles.com. Again, that's 954-369-6171, and that's loansforknowles.com.
Equal housing NMLS 373031.
Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
Widden Glass has been taking care of business since 1945. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Widden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Widden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Widden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Let's get straight to it and talk to my man, Ira Schfel, Warchant.com. Hello, Ira. How the hell are you, brother?
I am great, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good, man. What can we know by way of, I guess, hearing from our sources and others about practice up to this point? The 1 day in pads. So I know that we're all going to warn everybody, hey, take it with a grain of salt. This is all we're hearing right now. But I know you and Gene and others have put together some stuff. I've done some stuff on the air as well regarding the quarterbacks. Also, a little bit about Deuce Robinson. A lot of people are excited about what he's done so far in camp. I guess take it from there, partner. Go with what you like and talk to me about what you're hearing out of camp so far.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of maybe it's a good thing. It'll take a little heat off of us. We're not the ones giving our observations after what happened last year. Although I will say this, I thought it was cool that DJ Uyunglele threw the ball well at Pro Day last week. I talked to several people who were really surprised at how well he threw it. And I was like, yeah, it brought me back to remembering in camp. It wasn't like he was terrible in camp. It's just like things went off the rails for that whole team once they got on the field on Saturdays. But anyway, moving ahead. Yeah, you know, just talking to a lot of people. I mean, we've all talked to a lot of people who have either, you know, that are around the program or people that just were able to watch some practices. And I've really been encouraged by what I've heard about Tommy Castellanos as a passer. You know, obviously we know what he is as an athlete. I think he's a guy that, you know, brings a lot of talents to the table, but I've heard a lot of really good things about how he's throwing the football. So to me, that's really encouraging. But, you know, as you and Tom have heard as well, that, you know, Brock Glenn obviously is taken well to Gus Malzahn's offense, which I kind of thought might happen. You know, when Gus came in, I really thought there was a good chance that Brock would flourish even more than Luke before Luke decided to leave. And so I think that it's cool to see that that's playing out. And then, as you said, Deuce Robinson, I think he's definitely the guy that's created the most buzz out of practice so far. You know, we all expected him to be the guy that could stretch the defense. You know, I think we all envisioned him to be like a Johnny Wilson type or Keon Coleman, you know, get downfield, back shoulder throws, high point the ball, being 6'6" and 225 pounds. But he's actually really impressed people with his plays after the catch. Is apparently been very sure-handed, and then also has, you know, impressive breakaway speed after he gets the ball. So, you know, there's a lot of positives right now. And, you know, again, this is, you know, a lot, man, anybody hearing this, anybody reading what we write is going to take everything with a grain of salt after 2024. But, I think there's a lot of things that people are excited about right now.
Yeah, and we're fine with that. Everybody should. I am. I'm taking anything Mike says with a grain of salt right about now. I don't know what he's telling us is true. He can say anything he wants. We're going to be like, all right, whatever, buddy. We'll see. I mean, hearing good things about James Williams, I think that's important. I really, we're all going to be watching Darrell Jackson very closely because his upside seems to be great. And we were waiting on it for much of last year. Second half of the season was a pretty good one for him. Hopefully he takes the ball and runs with it and gets everything out of that frame. He's a massive individual and has a chance to be an NFL player. But I think it's going to be critical that they get something out of the Nebraska transfer. And I know you're hearing good things about James Williams as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, he's another one that his name just keeps coming up. I think, as Michael and Matt are out there talking to the recruits who come on their visits, a couple of them have mentioned him as well when they've been watching practice. Like, hey, who's number 10?
Mm-hmm.
They don't even know who he is. They just know that he's been impressive. We've heard other people talking about him as well. And man, the measurables are kind of off the charts. I mean, he's another 6'5", 6'6" kid, 265 pounds. And one of the things that we've been hearing that's really encouraging about him is just that not only is he, pretty impressive physically, and he obviously showed he could get after the passer when he was at Nebraska, but he's a guy at practice that just kind of knows one way and it's full speed all the time. And, people are mentioning, that he kind of practices the way, Fisk and Verse and those guys practice. Now, it's not to compare him to those guys, but just in terms of the way he's practicing and setting the standard for other players, is something that, and Mike Norvell even mentioned that to us the other day, that he and Darrell Jackson both have just really set the tone for that defensive line group. And that's going to be another position where, there's a lot of speculation about whether or not they did enough in the portal. I think a lot of people, including you, probably think they didn't do enough in the portal.
Correct.
So we'll see how that position shakes out this spring and whether or not they could do anything else after in the spring portal.
The other part where there's a lot of intrigue is the new offensive coordinator in Gus Malzahn, and for obvious reasons. Now, it's going to be a different looking offense, and from the sound of it, they're gonna do everything in their power to go fast. They're going to try to ratchet that up, and we're hearing early on in practice that's exactly the case.
Yeah, and that's going to be probably an adjustment for some guys. And we were talking the other day to Cam Davis, and he made the comment that with Gus, there's no BSing around, in the sense that even there's just no downtime. And I think some people read the quote from Cam Davis and said, well, what was going on last year? Hanging around, but I don't think he meant it that way. I think his point was that it is just a much faster tempo than what they've done in the past. And Mike Norvell, they always wanted to be able to go up tempo, and they had a couple periods every day. The first big period every day was an up tempo 1 minute drill, 2 minute drill offense. But that's kind of what they're doing all the time now, and so that requires a different level of intensity, focus, mental preparation. It's not just being in good shape, but it's also being able to mentally stay engaged that much for that level of intensity. And so far, I'm sure there's been plenty of hiccups, but I've heard encouraging words about that so far.
Ira, there's no practice today, but what can you update us on in terms of injuries? Anything that you've heard? Some things have leaked out a little bit early on in practice with guys dealing with some bumps and bruises and the like. Big picture, where are they at from an injury standpoint?
From what I hear, nothing too bad. Nothing that's going to affect anybody for the fall. I think anytime a guy is going to be out for maybe 2 or 3 weeks or the rest of the spring, it's disappointing. As you said, there's been a couple names thrown out there so far, but from what I understand, nobody that's like going to be affected for their availability in the fall. So that's the best thing. If you keep your fingers crossed, if that continues, that'll be the best news of the entire spring.
Yeah.
But as far as right now goes, I think everything that they've had so far, it's only been a few things. None of them have been things that would affect them in the season.
Look forward to seeing you in studio tomorrow, my brother. Be well.
Thanks, Jeff. See you, man.
Yep, take care. That's Ira Schafel, warchant.com. That's a good thing to hear about so few injuries, knock on wood. That's always really, frankly, even when we're good, when we're not jaded and cynical, when we are expecting good things, I hold my breath in spring. Seemed it would be senseless to lose somebody in spring.
I like the fact that some of the intel about some of our players is out of ignorance. And by that, I mean, if you've got a kid on campus watching practice go and said, who's number
that
10?
guy? Right. They're not
That's not
swayed by
somebody who
anything.
has
Yeah.
a preconceived notion that James Williams has to be an answer for us at edge rusher, and so therefore they are looking for something good.
Right.
That is somebody who has no idea what they're about to see, and they say, "Well, that guy's good.
That guy's kicking ass on every play."
That kind of source information is good. I like that.
Speaking of kicking ass, our friends at Above and Beyond Vacation Rentals do just that, and we are getting booked up left and right around here. Good job, friends. Good work. Well, listen, why wouldn't you do it, right? You're perhaps planning a little vacation. Coastal Pinellas County, beach cottages, quaint beach motels, luxury condos. They've got it all. It's downtown Dunedin, Palm Harbor, Clearwater Beach, you name it. These are Knowles, saving you a ton of money because you avoid the VRBO and the fees that come with it. You avoid the Airbnb. These are middleman fees. You don't want that. You work directly with Above and Beyond. That's the good part. That's Matt and Jen. They're Knowles, and they know that you're listening to this, and they're saying, hey, come work with us. We've got great properties, over 30 of them. 18 of those have pools. No reason not to book with them. And if you use the code JCS, you'll save 5%. So use code JCS for 5% off, 5% off, which is a good thing. You could also text them if you'd like, 727-253-5995 to learn more. They're happy to work with you in that manner as well. All you got to do is go to aboveandbeyondvr.com, aboveandbeyondvr.com. There are so many beautiful properties. We've seen them. They're gorgeous. Book now. You're good to go. You can get in for April. Still some places available for April. Certainly May, June, July, any kind of big summer vacation. Make it happen.
Yeah, the cool thing, if you're getting into going to downtown Dunedin, which you can do catching the end of spring training, but in the next couple of months, they've got music festivals.
Yes, they do.
A lot of live music, awesome scene in that downtown area. It wasn't much when I was a kid.
Oh, it's totally changed. It was nothing there when you were a kid.
So one of the properties they have is if you want to book a block, which they do for spring training often. There were Phillies fans down there when we were. Up to 26 people can stay on the property for one low rate.
Yeah, well, they have these little cottages. Some people call them little houses. They're little cottages, but they're beautiful, and there's plenty of room to move around. We went to them. It's really efficient, and you just walk.
So you check out on their site, the Dunedin Tiny Homes. That's the area that's essentially a compound where if you want to get a family gathering, everybody all down
everybody's there, yeah.
Or a work retreat, Gene Williams, anything like that. April, May, and June are open for bookings. Front half of April, no good. Pretty much booked up. You can try and find one if you want, but the back half of it, all of May and June, staycation season, and it's state of Florida season, so the prices are exceptional.
Aboveandbeyondvr.com.
Your local news now.
A man was arrested Thursday after...
Stop fighting the algorithm. You know you can't get enough Florida State filling your feed. Well, there's no better way to keep up with FSU on YouTube than with members-only level Warchant. It's going to get you bigger, faster, and stronger. How? Bigger.
It's hour number 2.
Join now for exclusive access to a bonus segment of the legendary Seminole headlines.
Faster.
Get debut access days in advance of the public release of the latest episode of X's and O's with Dominic Robinson, a look at the All-22 film.
Stronger.
Utilize the Member Milestone Chat, a new feature which allows your comment to be highlighted in live chats during warchant.com shows for maximum visibility. All of this in addition to members-only flair like badges, emojis, and polls to drive the conversation of the home of the Ultimate Seminole Sports Source on YouTube. Give it a try. Cancel it anytime. No commitments, no phone calls, no emails. Just a few clicks within your YouTube account. Warchant.com, members only YouTube. The next level in FSU coverage on YouTube.
10 miles per hour. Cloudy with fog tonight. Chance for storms. Lows level off around 58. Slight chance for storms with fog early tomorrow. Highs around 81. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 74 degrees.
Roofing and construction services. T-Bar.com. We conquer all peaks. We fix those dark leaks. Call 850-766-134. T-Bar Enterprises. Roofing and construction services. T-Bar.
License number CCC 1331204.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yep,
and then
Yeti.
Here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And, I've
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
You see how easy it is to go down that path, Tom, where you're just big picture conversations. That's where we're at. We're at a crossroads, it feels like, with Florida State football. It's an important time. I feel like this is an important time for the university, very important time for everything involved.
Yes, agreed. That's why when I'm thinking about football season, somehow, yes, Alabama in that first weekend is registering, but it's not registering as much as, so when are we going to take a partial share and just lock in our power to future? And how much would that cost us against the success and brand initiatives of the ACC in the interim? That's what I'm thinking of, because I just want to get to a place where there are fewer excuses. There are fewer reasons why we might not operate quite at the same level as ... in NIL.
Yeah, you can just be cutthroat at that moment.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Speaking of which, we forgot. We were so excited with Above and Beyond. We forgot to tell you who was the player that went above and beyond. That's Peyton Prescott. I'm going with him. Those were huge outs because the game felt like it was on the line, and Florida State was letting it all slip away, and he came in and shut down Miami on the road, hostile environment, 4 innings, 12 outs, really good. We got the win. Let's roll on. He's my candidate. I'm picking him.
There's a little something to it. The Valspar success, I know as much as we had fun with that segment, and Master success because of the difficulty of the greens at Innisbrook. You have to have speed control, and you have to have excellent ability to read little subtle breaks. Take note of Victor Hovland, who is going to get better odds now, worse odds for you, the consumer, for the Masters. But if he continues to talk about driving accuracy, this is something to watch. Less than driver, he hits it far enough without his driver. Everything else in his game is ready to top 20, top 10, top 5 at Augusta. And you should get some pretty good odds even with this victory at the Valspar. He went above and beyond because he made 3 birdies down the stretch to where he knew after he hit a poor tee shot on 18 that all he needed was bogey to win.
Oh, yeah.
So that dude went crazy in the hardest part of a golf course that's very difficult in order to skate home to a one-shot victory over Justin Thomas.
Fun tournament to watch. Turned out to be a pretty fun leaderboard as well. I mentioned it earlier, and I know I'm not going to mention it in the final hour, so I do want to take the time to acknowledge that George Foreman died while we were away on Friday, I think it was. He was 76. Tom, this is where our age difference comes into play. Of course, you know George Foreman, but you largely know George Foreman for the reasons that many in our audience know George Foreman. The George Foreman Grill, of which he ended up making something like $200 million off that thing. And you know the legendary story behind that?
Yeah, it could have been Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. And instead he chose a meatball maker, and that didn't exactly fly. Yeah, yep. That's a toughie. It's a tough one.
He could have had the Hulkster 2.0, the Hulkster 3.0.
Yeah, could have gone on and on.
We got the Brother 2.0 this year. Very excited about that. It would have been yellow and red, I'm sure.
But I actually remember the renewal of George Foreman's career when he improbably beat Michael Moore to win the heavyweight championship. But also as a fan from a very young age of boxing, he was in the golden age of heavyweights, and there were great ones, including him and Ali, and obviously Frazier famously was responsible for the call, because it was he, George Foreman, who put Frazier to the canvas, and it was down goes Frazier, which is now used all the time for really anything. anytime somebody falls. That was in 1973. So I don't remember it because I was in Europe. Foreman Ali in Zaire, yes, 1974. And that was the Rumble in the Jungle, and made famous, really good documentaries and the like. I would strongly suggest all of the books on that. And man, Ghosts. There's so many. There's so many really good ones. And then the return after being a brooding, intimidating, largely I don't know how to say it, because the 68 Olympics, he wins, he's beloved, he runs around the league in 68. You got to remember, this is in Mexico. This is the controversial time. And he's waving the American flag, and many Americans took him in and loved him. And then he became a very angry, brooding man who had no time for the media later on, when he was largely criticized by many in the movement as not having jumped on board with their efforts to acquire equal rights. And so you had this kind of juxtaposition, which was really all of his life before becoming this lovable grandpa of a man who happened to beat Michael Moore rather improbably, because I watched that fight, Tom, and I can tell you that as I watched that fight, he was taking an ass kicking. He was losing the vast majority of the fight, but always dangerous, always dangerous. And he set him up. It's a pawing jab followed by a straight right, the first of which gets ignored when you watch video clips. It starts with this, pam. It's a straight right. It stands Michael Moore up. Michael Moore, pretending he's not hurt, is hurt, and you can see it in his eyes. And in retrospect, he was in real trouble. But doing his best not to show that, stood motionless and got hit with another straight right. And thanks for playing. It's over. And Jim Lampley with the call, it's happened. It's impossible. It's happened. And George Foreman is no more at the age of 76. Rest in peace. What an interesting life. Hour number 3, forthcoming Power Hour. Hang in.